On the third day after the storm, my brother walked back out of the water. He looked like him. He sounded like him. He was not him. Oh, my name is Henry Durrell. I was 32 in September of 1900, a stevedore at Pier 20 on the Galveston wharf, and the storm of the 8th took most of the people I knew. I'm writing this in a borrowed ledger in a dry corner of a shelter on the Strand with a stub of pencil a Red Cross woman gave me. If you find it, do what you want with it. I am past caring about being believed. The morning of the 8th was warm. Warm in a thick, wrong way, the kind that sits on you like a wool coat soaked in something. The barometer at the levee building had been dropping 2 days. Mr. Klein, Isaac Klein, chief of the Weather Bureau here, had told a friend of mine on the dock it would be a heavy blow. Nothing more. He was wrong. By noon, the Gulf was over the rail at 25th and Avenue Q. By 3, the surf was inside the orphanage at St. Mary's. By dark, there was no city anymore. I had sent Eliza inland the week before to her mother's people in Hempstead. She did not want to go. I told her the baby made it sensible. She is the only sensible thing I have ever done. My brother Caleb stayed. He was 24. He was on the wharf at landfall with a crew lashing freight. I last saw him at 5 o'clock, soaked, laughing. He was always laughing at weather, waving me toward the bishop's house up on Broadway. I did not go to the bishop's. I went into the office of the freight master and climbed onto a desk and then a rafter and held on. When the roof came off, I went into the water with 2 beams across my chest and rode them 4 blocks inland to where they caught on a magnolia. I do not know how long I was in that tree. The wind was a thing that hurt your ears from the inside. In the morning, there was no wharf, no Pier 20, no Avenue Q. The lumber yard at 18 had been carried 4 streets up and broken into a low hill of yellow pine and rope and shellac bright sea-trunk lids. And on top of it lay a dead horse and a cottonseed sack and a man I did not know. The Bishop's stone house stood. Sealy Hospital stood. Almost nothing else stood. I looked for Caleb 2 days. I will not put down what I saw looking. The responders had begun the pyres on the beach on the 2nd afternoon. Too many dead for the soft ground, typhoid already on every doctor's tongue, and the smell of burning kerosene and burning wool and the other thing under it is in my nose now and will be forever. I did not find him on the beach, not at the rope yard, not at the Sealy mortuary. By the 3rd morning, I had stopped looking, sitting on a salt-stained pine plank at the Strand end of 23rd with a tin cup of bad coffee, watching the water come back out. The Gulf had taken its time leaving. On the 3rd day, you could see the wrack line going back foot by foot, leaving the lower street shining and full of broken things. A National Guardsman in a kerosene and cotton firefighter helmet, they had given those out from the city station to anyone walking the quarantine line, stood at Tremont and Mechanic with a rifle in the crook of his arm and a face the color of wet ash. He did not look at me. Nobody was looking at anybody. We were each of us a person who had survived a thing that had not allowed the people next to us to survive, and there is a shame in that you cannot speak around. I saw him at maybe 9 in the morning. The receding water was about ankle depth at the lower end of 23rd. He was walking out of it, not stumbling, walking, wet to the chest. His shirt was the blue cambric shirt I had bought him for his 22nd birthday from a drummer off a sloop out of Mobile. His boots were the lace-up brogans he wore to the wharf. His hair was plastered to his forehead the way it always plastered when he came out of the surf at East Beach in summer. He was smiling at me. I want to tell you what I felt. I am going to fail. I felt like a man who has dropped something into deep water and watched it come back up to him through the dark. I felt afraid before I felt glad, and I have been ashamed of that for 3 days, because what kind of brother is afraid first? He said my name. He said it the way Caleb said it, with the slight catch on the H, the way our mother used to say it, the way she taught him when he was 4 and I was 12, and he could not pronounce it any other way. Nobody says my name the way Caleb says my name. Nobody. I stood up off the plank. The tin cup went over and the bad coffee ran into the salt water at my feet, and I did not notice. He said, Henry, I made it. I held on to a piece of the pagoda bathhouse roof. I made it. He held his arms out to me and I went 2 steps toward him before I stopped. I do not know why I stopped. The best answer is that something under the breastbone, the thing that knows before the head knows, said no. I stopped at 6 feet from him and I looked at him. He was smiling, exactly the way Caleb smiled on the left side first, the way our father had smiled. Our father is 20 years dead, and Caleb never knew him to copy. That smile is bone, that smile is inheritance. You do not learn it. But his eyes were not doing what eyes do. They were on me, steady, not wet from the wind, not narrowed in the morning sun off the water, not flicking to the guardsman on the corner or to the gulls that had come back screaming over the wrack the way Caleb's eyes would have flicked. Only on me. The way a man looks at a door he is trying to figure out the lock of. I said, Caleb. I said his name. I did not mean to. It came out of me the way a name comes out of any man who has been 3 days believing his brother is on a beach pyre and the brother is standing in front of him. His smile got wider when I said it, wider than Caleb's mouth went, by a 1/4 inch, enough that I noticed and could not unsee. I took a step back. He did not take a step forward. He stood in the ankle water and said very gently, Henry, it's all right. It's me. I'm cold. Take me up to a fire. His voice was perfect. You have to understand. I had heard that voice every day of his life. The hitch on the word cold, the way the M in me drew a half beat because he had stammered until he was 9. That was in the voice. The whole of him was in the voice, but the words were wrong. Take me up to a fire. Caleb never asked for a fire in his life. He hated fire. He had a horror of it from when our uncle's barn burned in '86, and he saw a mule come out on fire. He would have asked for coffee. He would have asked for a dry shirt. He would have laughed. I did not move. A foghorn started up at the channel, a steamer working the quarantine line, and his head did not turn. Caleb would have turned toward a foghorn the way a dog turns toward a whistle. He was wharf bred. Sound off the water moved him without his thinking. This thing did not turn his head. I said, and I did not plan it. It came out of me. Who was the first man you saw die? Caleb saw a longshoreman named Welk go under a cottonseed bale at Pier 16 in '96. He was 16. We talked about it for a year. He could not stop. The thing in the water smiled at me with his teeth and his lips and nothing behind them and said, "Don't ask me that, Henry. Come closer. I'm cold." I went back a step. I said, "What was our mother's middle name?" He said, "Henry, please." Caleb knew our mother's middle name. Oh, it was Adeline. He had it carved into the snuff box he carried, the snuff box she gave him when he was confirmed at St. Patrick's in '92. He carried that box every day. It would have been in his coat. The thing in the water did not say Adeline. It said please. It said please in Caleb's voice, and the please was perfect, and it was the wrongest word I have ever heard. I went up the Strand without looking back, past the guardsman in the firefighter helmet. He did not look at me, and I did not look at him. I went into the shelter the relief committee had set up in the empty front room of Hutchings, Seeley and Company at 23rd and Strand. And I sat on a flour barrel and I shook. A man I had worked with on Pier 20 for 6 years, a German Lutheran named Ohlendorf, was in the corner with his head in his hands and a wool blanket on his shoulders. His wife and 2 daughters had gone in the orphanage water at St. Mary's. He looked up when I came in and he saw something in my face and said, in his quiet way, "You have seen one too." I said, "What do you mean, one?" He said, his sister came to him at dawn that morning on the beach at 28th, and he said her name out loud before he knew, and she went into him through the mouth, and he had spent 2 hours throwing up salt water in an alley behind the Cotton Exchange until a sister of charity from St. Mary's chased it out of him with a crucifix and the Word of God. He said it the way you say a thing you have rehearsed enough that the words do not hurt. He said, "Do not call them by their names, Henry. That is how they come in. That is the rule. They walk back out of the water wearing the people, and they wait for you to say the name because the name is the door." I sat with that. I had almost said his. I had said it. Caleb at the water edge before I thought. I had let the door swing open the width of a knuckle. The thing had stood and looked through the gap, and I had stepped back, and the door had not opened the rest of the way only because he could not answer about our mother, because he did not know about Welk, because his eyes did not move when the foghorn went. That night I went out behind the shelter to a pile of wrack the guard had stacked for the morning pyres. I saw a shellac-finished sea-trunk lid half burst in the pile, and inside it a leather-bound ledger swelled black with salt water, but the spine still tight. I don't know why I opened it. The first page was a sloop's manifest in copperplate, dated April of '51. No port of clearance, no master's name, only cargo and men. And at the bottom in the same hand, "This is the second crossing under this hand, and the first one came home wrong." I knew the handwriting. I do not know how. I had never seen it. It was the hand of a thing that had been writing longer than any one hand can write. I closed the ledger and put it back, and I have not gone near it since. Oh. He was at the water edge again the next morning, and the next. He is there now. The lower streets still shine. He stands at the end of 23rd and he calls to me in my brother's voice and says, "Henry, Henry, I'm cold. Henry, take me up to a fire." I do not answer, I do not look. I keep the shelter at my back, and I do not say his name out loud, and I do not say it in my head if I can help it. The Red Cross woman has told me a train will leave for Hempstead on the 15th if the line is cleared. I will be on it. I will go to Eliza, to my wife, and to the child she is carrying, and I will not look back toward the water, and I will not say my brother's name again in this life, because I think if I say it on land or off, the thing in the water hears it, and the thing in the water comes. The pyres on the beach burned 6 weeks. Mr. Klein lost his wife in the surge and never spoke the same again. The city raised the grade of the whole island 17 feet and built a seawall and called it done. None of that is the worst thing about the storm. The worst is what the water gave back, and the rule. The rule is the only thing between the survivors and the things wearing the people who did not. Do not call him by his name, not out loud, not in your head, not in a letter you mean to burn. Some ports remember everyone who left them. Galveston remembers more than that. Galveston remembers everyone the water gave back.